Bhante, there are two questions here. The first one goes like this. My mother likes to kill mice when she caught them. I often persuade my mother to leave them because it will create retribution according to Buddhism. But my mother said if she released them, the mice will destroy and eat the food. What is the way to persuade and advise her not to do so?
We talk about this question first, about killing mice. To be frank with you, when I was a small boy, I also killed mice. That was because I did not understand the Dhamma. People said, when you see a snake, you must kill a snake. So when I saw a snake, also I used to kill a snake. Only when I came to Buddhism, then I realized that every living being wants to live. Every living being wants happiness, is afraid of suffering, is afraid of dying. Then when you realize that, then only you spare their life. So one way is to teach your mother the Dhamma. That takes time. And sometimes people who are related to us, it's very difficult to teach. So another way is, if you see her catch the mice, you take it from her and you say you're going to bring it far away to release it. Bring it far away and drop it off in the forest somewhere. It probably may not survive, but at least you give it a fighting chance. So sometimes we have to do this. And there are very many common problems. For example, if your mother does not understand the Dhamma, she sees a lot of ants in the kitchen, she wants to kill all the ants with boiling water or something. So you use your wisdom. Try to see where these ants come from. Why are they around the kitchen? And sometimes you'll find the reason is because your dustbin is in the kitchen. So you take your dustbin and put it far away from the kitchen, maybe at the front gate or something. Then the ants will accumulate far away from the kitchen. Then your mother, not seeing the ants, won't be bothered. So the same with cockroaches. Cockroaches come because we leave a lot of food lying around and they have food to eat. So if you clean up every time after a meal, you sweep and clean properly, there's less food around, less chance for them to multiply. You can also make cockroach traps or rat traps. You trap them and then you catch them far away.
The second question is, as Bhante said, one of the way to repay our parents is by establishing them to the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. But if they refuse this, what could we do?
Actually, if they refuse, there is nothing much we can do. Because this affinity for a particular religion has to do with past life. And there are some people, they for a long time, they have not been going the right way. It's very difficult to change them. I know of one man in Penang. His auntie, the character was very bad. Always angry, always cursing people and all that. And then he tried to help the auntie by asking her to chant like Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa. But because her karma was so bad, that when she tried to chant these few words, the words just could not come out. She tried and tried, the words could not come out until the tears came down from her eyes. To her it was so difficult because the affinity was not there. And actually her karma was very bad. The karma was so bad that 2 days before she died, she broke out into one of her regular angry tantrums, violent and angry. That time she was in a nursing home, and in that state, nobody could control her. They had to call a doctor and give her an injection and make her tranquilize her. And then she went to sleep. And that was 2 days before she died. And when she went to sleep, this man who told me the story, he went to see the auntie, and he was shocked. You know why? 2 long teeth coming out. 2 long teeth coming out. And the children of this auntie and this old man who told me, they were all shocked, about 5 of them in the room. And the 2 teeth was there for 2 days until the old lady died. When the old lady died, the teeth disappeared. Why? Because she took rebirth. That means before she died, you could already see that she had become that person, that being that was going to be reborn. This is often the case. 1 or 2 days before a person dies, you see the character of that person, you know where that person is going to be reborn. It's a real story, A bit shocking, but good medicine. Give you some food for thought. The Buddha said, samsara, the round of rebirths, is very frightening. Don't play a fool. If you are careless with your karma, you get a bad rebirth, you'll suffer for a long time.
Bhante, I personally have one question. And let's say I live in a wooden house, and then somehow the house is dominated by white ants, those ants which could consume all the woods, and then if you do not do something about it, the house will one day collapse. So what do you think my family should do? If we don't act on it, we will suffer, but if we act on it, the ants will. So what is the solution for this?
In the Buddha's teachings, our precepts are not like the Christian commandments. In the Christian commandments, it is said, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, etc. But in our Buddhist precepts, when we recite the precepts, panatipata veramani sikhapadang samadhiyami, the meaning is, I will undertake to train myself to abstain from killing. So you don't janji, you don't promise that you won't kill. You just say that you want to train yourself to try not to kill. So in Buddhism, the Buddha's teachings is a very practical teachings. Is we try to refrain from killing if we can. Like in this case of the white ants, it is quite impossible to refrain from killing because your house is going to collapse if you don't act against the white ants. That is why in the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha did not say that we must become vegetarians, because the Buddha knows that it is quite impossible for everyone to become a vegetarian. The Buddha gave the condition, if we want to take meat, must have 3 conditions. We don't see, we don't hear, and we don't suspect that the meat was purposely killed for us. In other words, if you go to the market and you buy meat of an animal that is already dead, that is acceptable. You cannot go and choose a live chicken and ask the fellow to slaughter the chicken for you. You cannot go to a restaurant and select a fish, a live fish, ask the fellow to cook for you. So as long as the animal is already dead, it was not purposely killed for you, then boleh. Sometimes people say, you eat meat, it contributes to the killing of animals. Indirectly, yes. But you can't help it. Even if the whole world, everybody became vegetarians, still there'll be killing of animals, because if the animals multiply so fast, then plus also cannot handle them on the highway. Yes or not? They'll be walking all over the highway and the byway. So that's why you see, like in Malaysia, the government has to employ people to shoot stray dogs without license, because if these dogs multiply so much, they will become rabid and become sick, and then they will bite you and you also become sick. That's why they have to control the number of dogs. So that's why the Buddha's teachings is very practical. If it's not necessary, we don't kill. We try as far as possible not to kill, but sometimes can't help it.
There is another question. What is the purpose of Qiu Do?
Qiu Do. Qiu Do This teaching about Chao Tu, is only found in Mahayana Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism. It is not part of original Buddhism. A monk like me Buddhism has two main schools, Theravada and Mahayana. Theravada is the original teachings of the Buddha, and that means countries like Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Laos. And we wear this type of robe. And then Mahayana Buddhism developed 500 years after the Buddha passed away. That is why Mahayana books, they talk about Tai Seng, Siu Seng. Yes or not? Whereas our early books never talk about Tai Seng, Siu Seng, because during the Buddha's time, all the monks were united. Later, the monks split into different sects. That's why they talk about Tai Seng, Siu Seng. So Mahayana Buddhism is 500 years later. And Tibetan Buddhism is an offshoot of Mahayana Buddhism. And Tibetan Buddhism started 1,200 years after the Buddha passed away. That's why they have a lot of later teachings like mantras, tantric Buddhism, mandalas, etc. So this Chuto is not found in original Buddhism. And the principle of Chuto is to bring the beings out of hell. And in Mahayana Buddhism, they talk about the E09, yes or not? Ulambana festival, where they try to get the beings out from hell. But in our original Buddha teachings, nobody can get anybody out from hell.
Bhante, there is a question about what is actually Tibetan living Buddha? Who is Tibetan living Buddha?
This concept of the living Buddha is not found in original Buddhism, because when you talk about a Buddha, generally you mean a Sammasambuddha. Let me explain these terms. What do you mean by Arahan and a Buddha? Arahan comes from two words, Arahatta. It used to be called Arahatta. Ara means the spokes of a wheel. The spokes of a wheel. Hatta means destroyed. That means an Arahan or Arahatta is one who has destroyed the wheel of existence, samsara. That means he is not going to be reborn again. An Arahan is not going to be reborn again. That means an Arahan is a liberated person. And an Arahan includes a Buddha. What's the difference between a Buddha and an Arahan? A Buddha is a self-enlightened Arahan. That means a Buddha, when he was reborn in the last life, there was no Dhamma in the world. And when there's no Dhamma in the world, he has to strive by himself to enter Nibbana, to become enlightened. Yes or not? Like our Sakyamuni Buddha. And my personal opinion is that all these Buddhas, they are generally Sakadagamin, second stage Arya. Because second stage Arya has only one life left. He must enter Nibbana. Just like a ripe durian must fall. So these kind of people like our Sakyamuni Buddha, because he was already a Sakadagami when he came in his last life, even though there is no Dhamma around, he will strive very hard and enter Nibbana and become enlightened. So that is a Buddha. Buddha is a self-enlightened Arahan. And a Buddha, there are two types of Buddha. 99.999% of Buddhas are Pacheka Buddhas. Because when a person becomes a Buddha, then he contemplates living beings. He finds that most people don't want to practice the Dhamma. Most people don't want to go against their natural tendency of greed, hatred and delusion. So very difficult to teach living beings. That's why 99.99% of Buddhas are Pacheka Buddhas. And once in a long time, you get a Sammasambuddha. Our suttas, the Buddha said, when he looked into the last 91 world cycles, he saw only 6 Sammasambuddhas. 91 world cycles so long, only 6 Sammasambuddhas. I mean, Sammasambuddha is very difficult to find. So that is a Sammasambuddha. Now, in our original teachings of the Buddha said that the next Sammasambuddha who will come will be called Maitreya Buddha, also called Maitreya Buddha in Pali. In Chinese it's called what? Mi Fo. And in our suttas, the Buddha said, when man's age, average age, goes up to 80,000 years, when our lifespan is 80,000 years, then Mi Fo will appear. So before that time, there is no other Sammasambuddha. So these people who talk about life Buddhas, they don't understand this principle of found in the original Buddha teachings. Because once a person has become enlightened, become a Buddha, a Buddha is an awakened one. Life actually is like a dream. When you awaken, you don't dream anymore. Why is life like a dream? Because the whole world is in consciousness. Do you believe that? The whole world is in consciousness. Although to us the world is so real, but it's no different from your dream. When you're dreaming at night, your dream is real as now. Yes or not? It's only when you wake up only you realize, it was only a dream. Now I prove to you two ways. One is the world exists because we see. Yes or not? We see the world. And we hear the sounds of the world. We smell, we taste, and we touch. These five senses tell us there is an outer world. And the mind tells us there's an inner world. So these six senses working will tell you there's an outer and there's an inner world. If I take away your seeing consciousness and you don't have eyes to see, you don't have anything to see with, then you are less one very important factor, the seeing. If I take away your hearing, then you can't hear any sound in the world. If I take away your senses one by one, ultimately there is no world. Yes or not? And sometimes we think that the eye sees the world. But the eye does not see the world. Because if the eye sees the world, you go for a quick operation, you take out your two eyes, put your two eyeballs here, and ask your eyes to see the world. Can see or not? Cannot see. And you don't need the eyes to see, because at night when you are dreaming, your eyes are closed, but you see another world. Yes or not? It's only consciousness that creates the world. So this is one proof. Another way is to look into your body. When you examine your body, you use science to examine your body, you find that your body is made out of cells. Millions and millions of cells, yes or not? You have live cells, you have dead cells. The dead cells constitute your hair, your bone, your nail, etc., your outer skin. These are dead cells. The rest is all live cells. Whether it's dead cells or live cells, it is all composed of molecules and atoms. But molecules are also atoms, right? So your body, which is made up of cells, is all made up of atoms. Yeah. So your whole body is made up of atoms, right? Now let's analyze an atom. When you look into an atom, you will find it is similar to the sky when you look at night. When you look into the sky at night, you find it's 99.99999% empty. Here and there you find a star, a planet, a satellite. But the actual, most of it is void, emptiness. Yes or not? So, because an atom, 99.9999% is empty, and your body is made out of atoms, that means your whole body, 99.9999% is empty, Your body is no different from the air around you. Then why is it you see yourself as a human being with solid body? Now only science is beginning to realize that this 99.999% emptiness is actually consciousness. Consciousness pervades whole of space. So our consciousness makes us dream. Now you dream that you are a human being. And then one day you dream that you passed away from this life. another dream will begin. Then you see yourself as another being. So it's all the working of consciousness. That's why in Buddhism, mind is very important. Mind is like the software, the program that you put into your computer. What program you put into your computer, when you open your computer, whatever comes on the screen depends on your program. So in the same way, our mind, the show that now we are dreaming, we are a human being, depends on what program? On your karma. Karma is the program you put into your mind. What actions you do will govern what type of show you have. If you put in a lot of evil karma, when you die, you see yourself in hell, being tortured, suffering. Because you don't realize it's a dream, it's like a nightmare. When you're having a nightmare, you're suffering in that nightmare, yes or not? But when you wake up from that dream, then you realize, that's now so excited, only a dream only, yes or not? So the Buddha is the awakened one. We are all still dreaming. Actually, you find, you study the suttas, that many things the Buddha has said, now science is only beginning to discover. For example, in our suttas, the Buddha said that time has no beginning and time has no end, and space is boundless, and consciousness can be developed until it is boundless. The first few things science has recently discovered. Professor Stephen Hawking now is saying the same thing that the Buddha said. Time has no beginning, time has no end. Space is boundless. But Professor Stephen Hawking has not developed his mind like the Buddha, so he does not know that consciousness can be boundless. The other surprising thing that the Buddha has stated in the suttas is that the Buddha said world systems expand and contract. Now scientists see all the stars are moving away from each other, but they don't know whether these stars will keep on moving forever. But Buddha has already said that the stars will move to a certain limit. After that they move back. They come nearer and nearer and nearer. Now we have a sun in our system. After a very, very long time, a second sun will come because the stars are all coming nearer and nearer. And when a second sun comes, our earth becomes so hot that all human beings will die, all animals will die, all plants will die. Then later a third sun will appear, and then slowly the rivers will dry up, the ponds will dry up. And then a fourth sun will appear, and then the big rivers also will dry up. The ocean becomes shallower and shallower. Until 7 suns appear, all the stars come together, and the whole thing will burn. Burn and then will come together. And then comes together, becomes what? Black hole. Science now calls it a black hole. Then after a long time, it will explode in the Big Bang. Explode and then everything will start again. All this the Buddha saw already. Now science only beginning to discover.